You, there we go. Okay. We talk about the wine. We talk about the characteristics of the composition of the soil and with the climate, but we don't talk yet about the human aspect of the wine, which for me is the where we've been focused the attention of the Siembra Azul Foundation. Try to understand the impact of globalization and modernization in this part of the Terroir. It's very difficult for the jornaleros to assimilate what's going on right now in the industry. So this little presentation, I have only 15 minutes, I'm going to dedicate to the jornaleros. Just to understand the jornaleros, we had to start from the pre-Columbian times. You know, as Ivan mentioned, we had the relationship between man and the agave begins 9,000 years ago. So my job here today is to link, what happened to those, how those 9,000 years we can bring them to the agave, to the tequila terroir, the human aspect. So,
David, put the mic up.
Closer? Okay.
Yes, please.
So we have here, the first, the evidence of true agave fossils indicate that native Indians already had the domestication of the agave plants, and this happened in Oaxaca, actually, in the Tlacolula caves. That's where they found this agave chew. That obviously, if it was chew, and as Ivan mentioned, in order for us to be able to chew the agave, has to be cooked, has to be processed. So that, therefore, we have already the men understand this process. It takes probably a lot of years for them to understand that they have to cook the plant. I don't believe on the story about the lighting the plant and then boom, we have a delicious juices. I think that's a little bit too...
it's a little too convenient.
Yes, but I scientifically, it's just we have men getting the approach to this plant for at least 9,000 years. Our tequilas, our mezcales have an impact, from that time. So the men back then discovered that in the agave, they find in the agave a great potential for applications. It was not just eating, but it was a great applications that they have. So this originates a major agricultural activities in the pre-Columbian times. And we go back to now we go to the conquistadors. Obviously, they come and they create a lot of positive things, but they also have an impact that was not so positive. What happened here? How we can relate that to our spirits? Well, in the 1500s, when the conquistadors arrived, they create an alliance with the Tlaxcaltecans, with many different indigenous people, but the Tlaxcaltecans was one of the key alliance that they have in order to be able to conquer Mexico. And the Tlaxcaltecans, they were the first specialists on the agave who introduced the domestication of the agave to the territories they conquered. We have a little conversation yesterday, Ivan and myself, about what kind of agaves they introduced into these regions, because agaves, they were already, as he mentioned, all the way from North America to South America. But the agaves they were using for the domesticated agaves. So the Tlaxcaltecas were traveling with the Spaniards, and they were bringing these agaves to all the areas where they were conquered. Okay, it was not into the 1600s when the Spaniards settled in the area that we know as Tequila and Amatitan. That's where they started to produce their Vino Mezcal. Okay, and it was not into the 1760s, into 1760, when the Spanish ran permission by the Spanish king to legally produce the distilled spirit that we know as Vino Mezcal. Okay, because this organization, it creates different positions on the agave plantations. They create different jobs on the plantations. They were very well organized, and they hire people to do the specific jobs on the agave fields. We have people they were cleaning the agaves, people who were preparing the land to plant the agaves. They were planting the agaves. There were people who were nurturing the plants, and there were people who were cutting the plants. This is very interesting. I'm going to go back to that people who were cutting the plants, that we happen to call them jimadores. And for what I understand in Oaxaca, we don't have jimadores, right?
No.
There is not such a thing as jimadores.
No.
Well, let's go to the next one, please.
He's everything.
He is everything.
Everything.
That's the great thing about mezcal.
Yeah. Totally.
You know, the Spaniards were to say, we were getting these very well organized haciendas, and they were putting together all these jobs, very specific jobs on the agave fields. And for some reason, here, nowadays, we recognize only one member of that team. We call them jimadores. I spent my last 20 years talking about jimadores. And getting ready for this presentation, I talked to a professors from the University of Guadalajara, and they say, some of them, they were like, it's not such a thing as just jimadores, David. We have jornaleros. In jornaleros, we have to recognize the entire group of people that participate in the cultivation of the agave. It's a long process, it's a very specialized job, but it's not just the jimadores. We go to some of the distilleries, and we have this very handsome guy with very clean clothes, posing for the pictures. And then we go to the agave fields, and we have this guy who is, well occupied with his weapons to go against these leaves of the pencas of the agave. So, who is who? Who plays the role of the real jornalero in the industry? Let's go. So, from the colonial times, the haciendas, we have all the way to the 1990s, we had this incredible tequila boom. We started to have tequila getting popular and get exported all over the world. Tequila, as mezcal, cannot grow in 5 years. It's a spirit that by its nature, it needs time to grow. It needs time to develop. So, the success of the tequila industry start to put together, start to put aside the jornaleros and bring the agronomous engineers. These young people who were going to college and learning all about the agaves.
Just like me.
Ivan.
All about the agaves, but I think, Ivan, the difference is that you work with the jornaleros. A lot of the big companies, they decide to relate all what they're doing on the agave plantations on the agronomous engineers. I just want to make a very interesting observation. I'll go this one. I'm sorry. This guy's from, yeah. Anybody can be a jimador nowadays.
Is that a jornalero?
Sorry, I skipped that.
Is that a jornalero or what?
But
Who's that?
The agronomous engineers. Now, I would like to compare the agave plantations that we have for centuries, or the agave plantations that we have in Oaxaca. They are healthy agaves. We know what they're doing. We were doing fine, but in the boom of the tequila, we started to have serious issues with the agave. The agave fields, since we handle the care of the agaves from the jornaleros to the agronomous engineers, here we have some results that we all know. When you drive right now to the agave, to the terroir, to the appellation of origin, you will see a lot of plantations that they have issues. When we were under the care of the jimadores, we don't have those issues. Okay, we see now, agaves grow in vitro. We incorporate equipment that is not really keeping us with the flavors that the agave, that the long time that the agave needs to develop, to grow, is offered to us. And so what are the consequences for the plant? We are weakening the genetic strands. We use plants that are sick on the agave production. We saw that if we visit the region, we're going to see plants that they should not be incorporated into the process, but they are. And also, we're going to see the increase of use of chemicals in order to keep these plants, to avoid what that picture shows. For the human factor, well, we have the lack of fair wage and incentives, an increase of migration of jimadores. You're going to see a couple numbers in the next slide. But you know, we have a lot of the jimadores. We find out with the studies that the people from the University of Guadalajara are doing, that the migration of jimadores from the highlands and the valleys is being increased. We cannot let these guys leave the industry. You know, we can have waiters or agronomous engineers to migrate. We can replace them. But when we have jimadores, just imagine that if we have people from Oaxaca, that Paciano is 8 generations of jornaleros who produce spirit. Just imagine if we have the link that we have with Paciano and his past to migrate outside of the mezcal industry. That would be catastrophic. We have that issue right now on the tequila industry. You know, this is just to prove the stress that we put in the agave, in the plants by the increase of value, which is nothing wrong to increase. I celebrate what the tequila has been able to conquer. You know, the tequila now is pretty much present in every country of the world. That's wonderful. The product we have to stop and change what we do it with the regulations on the industry to allow this growth to be healthier. Okay? We see here, for example, we see the comparison of liters versus tons of agave. So in order to produce, you know, in 1995, when we started this graphic, we produced 104 million liters of tequila. In order to produce those 104 million liters of tequila, which was a combination of mixed of 100%, we need 278 million tons of agave. Wonderful, we create a lot of jobs. But 4 years later, how long the agave needs to reach maturity? Between 6 to 12 years. But only 4 years later, we almost duplicate the production of tequila. We went to 196 million liters, which required 780 million tons of agave. That's a lot of stress on the agave tequilana Weber. And also a lot of stress on the jimadores. We probably don't have the qualified jimadores to take care of those agaves. But we start to bring jimadores, not jornaleros, jimadores from another parts of the country. We have a lot of migration from Chiapas right now, a lot of people from Chiapas who are coming to the highlands to cut agaves. But they don't know how to do a jima. They know how to cut, but not to do a jima. That has an impact on flavors. That if you don't know where to throw that coa, which angle of the coa has to attack the pencas, that's going to have an impact on the final product. So we have right now a lot of jimadores, but not a lot of jornaleros. Okay? Then, let's go to the next one. This is just to put us in a perspective. This is something that it was questioned this morning, but believe me, these numbers, they were generated by people who spent more than 20 years studying the industry on the academic, from the academic perspective. In 1960, the agave was priced at 1 peso per kilogram. Okay? If we go to 202, where we have the shortage of agave, the agave was priced at 16 pesos per kilogram, which is equivalent of $1.37. Today, the agave price is 35 cents per kilogram. 35 Mexican cents, which means it's only 3 cents of a dollar for a kilogram. What kind of incentives we have for jimadores, for jornaleros to grow agave? And also, if we see that the break-even point for farmers to grow agave is 3 pesos, that, if you take these numbers and you travel to the appellation of origin, it's going to explain why we have a lot of agave plantations abundant. You know, there was a couple people that they know that we produce tequila. They came to us and they say, we can give you a very good price on tequila. And this is not coyotes. This is not the people who is the intermediaries. This is just people who are desperate to sell their agave. So, you know, we can give you the agave for 25 cents. I feel very comfortable in front of that people because I know these people had to invest at least from 6 to 12 years of their land for a product that right now is valued less than 51 years ago. There's something very wrong with this picture, but this is something that we have to be aware. We, the educators, we have to be aware of what is the situation with the jornaleros. Just for you to have an idea, this is interesting because there's a study also on the efficiency of agave. The efficiency that we have back in 1995, to produce 1 liter of mixto tequila, we need 2.29 kilograms of agave. And at the prices of the agave back in those years, it was 20 cents of a dollar to produce 1 liter of mixto tequila. If we go to the 100% agave tequila, which we need 4.4 kilograms, 4.83 kilograms, it was only 43 cents of a dollar to produce 1 liter of tequila, 100%. Today, with the prices that we have today, we have, for the production of a mixto tequila, we had to pay only 6 cents of a dollar to produce a liter of mixto tequila, and 15 cents of agave to produce 1 liter of 100% agave tequila. I just want to throw this to you and think about how much we pay for a liter of 100% agave, average, high-end product.
That's just for the cost of the plant.
Yes, the cost of the plant.
Okay.
Yes. So what we can do about it, you know, moving forward, I would say education, education, education. You know, we can see, we saw that picture of the last trip. You know, education can be fun too. You see the professor. That's a great picture. But, you know, we also have to support free, fair trade practices on the agave fields. We have to support producers that offer real benefits to jornaleros, or probably to create benefits for jornaleros. We can do that as a consumers. We can come with ideas how to do that. Preserve the tequila archives. There's so much to learn there. These archives there in Tequila, in the Museum of Tequila, this is a huge source of information that explains to us where the industry is coming from and where we're going. Okay? Also, we have to continue the dialogue with institutions to promote, protect, and support the tequila, like the Regulatory Council of Tequila and the Chamber of Commerce of Tequila. Okay? And promote that all tequilas be bottled in origin. It's an appellation of origin spirit. It has to be bottled in origin. It's the only spirit that has an appellation of origin that doesn't do that. Why? I don't know. Okay? Okay, well, I do just say that. We have to increase also the label information on tequila bottles. I think the first person to do that was Thomas Estes. If we really want to talk about terroir, we have to have information on the labels to tell us where the tequilas are coming from, the process that was used to produce that tequila. We need more information on the labels. Also, we have to celebrate the origins and the traditions surrounding the tequila industry. There is so much there to celebrate and to learn. And we have to incorporate, this is also, it's going to be a huge debate on this very soon. We have to incorporate other species of agaves to minimize the stress that we put in one species. Has to be done. I don't know, are you guys agree with me on that one?
Yeah. Yes or no?
Very smart guys, they run the mezcal industry. They do that, and it works. They have 28 varieties of agaves they are permitted to use in mezcal. And I always say, and I always get in a lot of trouble, I always say that mezcal is the father of tequila.
Mother.
Father and mother.
That's mother.
You know, is the spirit.
I say mother.
I say mother.
I always say, you know, the people say, a lot of people think that the mezcaleros have to look up at the tequileros. I say, you know, I'm not sure about that. Things should be the other way around. And just look around. Look the agave landscape on the mezcal, and look the agave landscape on the tequila industry. That's all I have to say about who is who in this agave spirits industry. Okay?
Hang on, he's not done yet. He's not done, right?
The final thoughts. I don't want to give my final thoughts yet. I want to give thoughts of the Professor Pepe Hernandez from the University of Guadalajara, which is one of the guys that has spent more time trying to understand this incredible, fascinating industry. And he does research in both regions, highlands and the valles. He travels everywhere. And he had this to say about the jornaleros. We discredited and set aside the knowledge of older generations. New jimadores, like the ones we see in the picture from Chicago and New York, the new jimadores only know how to cut rather than jimar. Huge difference. The industry is expanding too fast compared to the natural, slow process that tequila requires. I don't have nothing against growing. I don't have nothing against, I'm gonna say brands here. I have nothing but to thank Cuervo, Sauza, Herradura, Patron, great companies to bring tequila all over the world, to bring tequila to the map and to give us the opportunity to be who we are. But there is time for us to start to reconsider how to assimilate, find the ways of how we're going to assimilate the growth of this industry. We cannot continue to do it with only one agave species. Okay? Then, going to the jimadores, and this is the way Pepe mentioned, the jimador has been reduced to one task specialty, and his symbol is being exploited by marketing purposes. Why we just talk about jimadores? Why we don't talk about all the jornaleros? And that includes myself. And I spent 20 years studying this. And only a couple of weeks ago I always say jimadores, but never jornaleros. Okay? Thank you very much. How much time I have?
You're beautiful, David.
I passed.
You passed. You nailed it. How about David Suro? You see why we needed him?
I was sorry. Thank you.
Mr. Cooper, telling the truth, man.